නියෝජ කතානායකතුමේ ඔබේ මුහුණ දැප්පාම අහන්න යන ප්‍රශ්නත් හිර වෙනවා. දැන් වෙලා තියෙන නිසා මම කාරුණික ඉල්ලනවා මේකට සම්පූර්ණ වෙලා දෙන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රශ්න ටික කරන්න. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I rise once again under Standing Order 27-2 to draw attention to this House to the simplified VAT tax system whose abrupt abolishment with effect from 1st October 2025 has and will trigger grave and widespread concern across Sri Lankan export community. අපනයන ක්ෂේත්‍රයට ලොකුවට බලපෑමක්. On the 17th of September 2025, during a widely viewed national television program, leading industry representatives, Mr. Johan Lawrence, Jaff, Shia Marika, National Chamber Exporters, Mr. Jayanta Karunaratna Mr. Puspika Janadira, Rubber and Manufacture Exporters, and Mr. Sean Van Dort, Shippers Council, spoke unanimously in warning of severe and negative consequences of this decision. Their testimony highlighted cash flow paralysis. Under SVAT, exporters had immediate input VAT relief. With the removal, refunds are now delayed a minimum of 105 to 180 days, effectively forcing exporters to extend interest-free loan to the state. For SMEs in particular, borrowing at 11 to 20% interest, such delays are devastating. The increased bureaucracy, a streamlined digital system has been replaced with a cumbersome paper-driven process, diverting scarce resources away from production and market expansion. This is moving from a technical device into a manual intervention. Loss of competitiveness. As you know, Sri Lanka is fighting a major competitive battle. Sri Lankan exporters are now disadvantaged compared with the rivals in Bangladesh, Vietnam, India, Indonesia, Laos and Philippines, where refund systems are faster and more reliable. නියෝජ කතානායකතුමා දන්නවා ට්‍රම්ප්ගෙන් අපිට මේ රටවල් 8ට තමයි 120 ටැක්ස් එක දීලා තියෙන ඉන්දියාව ඇර. Erosion of trust, abrupt and untested policy shifts of damage Sri Lanka's investment climate, discouraging both local and foreign investment. Sectoral vulnerabilities. Mr. Lawrence mentioned billions tied up, crippling factory operations. He mentioned that 68 billion is a monthly exports and roughly about 18 billion is the VAT component. So that has a roughly a 2.5 billion of the bottom line. T. Cash delays cascading to small holders and factories. Rubber, Mr. Janadira mentioned high-value inputs blocked, undermining competitiveness. SMEs and diversified sectors, Mr. Marika, many facing existential collapse. Logistics and shipping, Mr. Vandert, entire ecosystem weakened, eroding Sri Lanka's role as a hub. Deem exporters were not represented, but that's one of the biggest sectors in this SVAT refund mechanism. Deputy Speaker, while the government justifies the decision on grounds of fraud and revenue leakage, industry stressed that the targeted audits, digital monitoring and strict penalties would have been sufficient. Instead, a blanket policy has carpet-bombed exporters, delivering no real revenue, only a treasury cash flow advantage at the expense of those who earn vital foreign exchange. Deputy Speaker, at a time when Sri Lanka must raise exports from 16 to 17 billion in 2024 to US dollar billion 36 by 2030, as pledged by President Anwar Dissanayake, this policy risks becoming self-inflicted wound on our most crucial economic sector. Questions on the Honourable Minister of Finance. 1. Will the Honourable Minister state what immediate remedial measures are being implemented to prevent refund delays of 105 days minimum or more, which are creating crippling cash flow crisis, particularly for the small medium enterprises borrowing at double-digit interest rates? Given that small and Honourable Minister, as you know, even though today the fixed statutory rate of 7.75, lending is 15 to 20. That is why the biggest problem that is there. Given that the small and medium enterprises are essential for export diversification and growth, what special provisions are being made to protect them from insolvency due to VAT refund delay, ensuring they can continue to operate and contribute to 230 goal set by the President? 2. Given that exporters are now effectively financing the treasury interest-free, will the ministry introduce an interim digital mechanism to guarantee timely refunds until a fully transparent VAT system is operational, either direct VAT live operation, or if not, try to see as to how you can bring this temporary measure. 3, how does the ministry reconcile to the declared target of 36 billion in exports by 2030 with a policy that industry leaders unanimously warn will discourage investments, delay operations, and erode competitiveness? Will this lead to a case of defeating or discouraging President Anura Kumar Dissanayaka's targets and the objectives? 4, what safeguards or transitional support mechanism will they establish to protect small and medium enterprises and the deemed exporters who supply large exporters but cannot survive prolonged refund delays from the collapse due to blocked working capital? 5, what is the projected financial benefit to the Treasury for abolishing SVAT? And how does the ministry justify such term gains against the far greater foreign exchange losses and employment risks from weakened exports and company closures? Deputy Speaker, I'm just adding one statement when I was coming. There were 3 very big companies that were talking whether this SVAT is going to be taken off, as well as for the entrepot trading. Entrepot trading is no SVAT. I'm informed that there is a surreptitious measure trying to bring entrepot trading also, because then shipping lines, airlines, everything gets involved. It will be a complete collapse. So I'm sure, Honourable Minister, you are practical, you know this. Please ensure that there's a bifurcation between SVAT and the entrepot trading. 6. Why has the ministry reverted to manual bureaucratic refund process instead of introducing a real-time online transaction-based VAT system that would both reduce fraud and preserve export liquidity? 7. Does the government acknowledge that implementing IMF conditions without adapting them to Sri Lankan ground realities risk a collapse of local production, substituting by importing, forcing exporters into dependent survival models merely to meet cash flow delivery timeliness? If so, who will be held accountable for this catastrophe? Honourable Deputy Speaker, making අර්ථකථනය වෙන්නේ අද මේ රටේ අපනයනය කළා නිෂ්පාදනය කළ අපනයනය කිරීම වෙනුවෙන් මේ වැට් ප්‍රශ්න නිසා ආනයනය කළා ඒකේ කොටසක් උපයෝගී කරගාවි අපනයනය කරන්න. ඒක ඉතාමත් භයානකකාරී ස්වරූපයක් වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඇමතුමාට මම ඉතාමත් ප්‍රායෝගිකව ඉල්ලන්නේ මේ දෙස බලන්න. Does the government acknowledge that it's 8, with barely a week remaining from before SVAT is abolished, will the Honourable Minister explain that recourse or compensatory measures exist for exporters already struggling with domestic constraints and foreign market pressures? Does the government accept that once a foreign buyer is lost, regaining that market is extremely difficult, if not impossible, Deputy Speaker? 9. How many billions of rupees in VAT refunds are currently outstanding to exporters across all sectors? What is the specific time-bound action plan clear to this backlog? I'm informed that there are more than 120 billion refundable over the last 15 years. So this is the problem exporters are having, Deputy Speaker. Finally, as the new system creates a massive administrative burden for both exporters and the Inland Revenue Department, what digital system is being developed to automate and streamline refund process, and what is the definitive launch date? Will the ministry establish a real-time monitoring and feedback mechanism to review the actual impact of abolishing SVAT and commit to revisiting or reversing the policy should the adverse outcome predicted by the industry stakeholders come to pass? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Minister.
ගරු නියෝජක කතානායකතුමනි මේ සඳහා පිළිතුරු දීමට සති දෙක කාලයක් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
Ministerial statement by Honourable Dr. Anil Jayantha. Yes, Honourable Ravi Karnanayaka.
Honourable Minister, I appreciate that there's a time required, even though it has only 1 more week. So by the time you give an answer, SVAT will be abolished. ඉතින් ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපනයන කරුවන් අපි මේ අහන්නේ රටක් වෙනුවෙන් අපි අපනයනේ වැඩි දියුණු කරන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයන් නිසා. ඉතින් මේ සුමානයක් ගන්නවා කියන්නේ මීට පසු වෙන පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ 7 වෙනිදා මේක අවශ්‍ය වෙලා අවසන්. ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් තමයි මේක ප්‍රමුඛත්වය. ඉතින් මම දන්නවා ඔබතුමා මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අද හෙට හරි මේක ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් මම හිතන්නේ අපනයන කරන කට්ටියට මේක ලොකු රුකුලක් වෙනවා.
Ministerial statement by Honorable Dr. Anil Jayanta.
Honorable Deputy